Hello and welcome to another episode of Mr. Mayo's Poetry Wackadoodle Unit, or Wackadoodle Poetry Unit. Does it matter what word order I in this sentence place? Does it matter if I like Yoda sound? I'm gonna say no, because again, poetry doesn't matter if wrong order usage I use. So, let's take a look at this poem. This poem is, yes, take a moment, you may laugh. The poem is called Fire. I'll wait. I can wait for you to have your moment, because I know you're all going to crack a joke before too long. Are you done? Because if you're not done, I'm just going to keep going, and you can catch up with me. Pause if you need to. Rewind. That's the great thing about videos. So just pause and rewind if you need to and catch up with me when you're finally done making fun of the fact that we're doing a poem about fire with Mr. Mayo. Okay? Okay, we're good. Okay, good. So, let's take a look at this poem. In this particular poem, we're going to take a look at the usage of metaphor. Now, metaphor is sort of a broad term in poetic devices. Metaphor is really the representation of one thing in another way. So, for example, in this poem, the fire that we're talking about is a metaphor for something else that if you can't already guess, I'm going to be gesturing towards the comments below that I'll be interested in hearing from you what you think it's about. But let's read the poem first. Let's explore a little bit about what metaphor is and what it could be in this poem. Explore just, a little bit what's going on. So, this is fire. Let's start reading it. The fire blazes around, devouring everything in its path. Fiercely it forms and works to rebuild anew. Raising its hell, it runs and combusts and kills and smokes deep within the forest's growth. And eventually it burns out, past memory till rekindled anew. Whew. Now let's just take a step back, think to ourselves for a moment, collect our thoughts. There's a lot going on in this poem. So there's this fire, and you'll notice that there's a lot of similar usage in form to the poem that we did, Wind. Remember, the wind had said, the wind soars above the clouds on silver wings, wistfully it whispers, and something, something, something. I don't remember how the rest of it goes, but it dives and charges something. Yeah. So there's this similar format going on here. There's a similar form going on to Wind that you hopefully have already watched or can now go look at to see what I'm sort of gesturing towards. And I highly encourage you to take a look at, all of the videos on here that you have time for it. And so long as you don't have homework that you need to be working on right now, you know who you are. I'll just leave it like that for the whole world to hear on the interwebs. You know who you are. Go do your homework. No, just go do your homework. So, let's take a look. Geez Louise, what am I supposed to think about this? The fire blazes around, devouring everything in its path. This fire is destructive in nature. And I see that, sort of being emphasized here with this alliterative, right? Alliteration. This alliterative verse, fiercely it forms. It's destructive, it's devouring, it's fierce, and all of a sudden I have some contrast thrown in here, and I'm not sure what to think about this metaphor at this point, because "and works to rebuild anew." What? I'm sorry. Devouring everything in its path, fiercely it forms and works to rebuild anew. There's something about this fire that is destructive on the one hand, and at the same time is giving new life, almost, because it's rebuilding a new. Okay. Okay, well, let's continue on. Maybe it'll make more sense as we go. Raising its hell. Okay, yeah, well, that sounds like we've returned to the first point. Devouring, destructive, fierce. Raising its hell. It runs and combusts and kills. Yeah, that sounds pretty destructive. And smokes deep within the forest's growth. It sounds like this forest is getting pretty charred up. And eventually it burns out past memory till rekindled anew. Oh, man. So metaphor is this usage. And yes, I have just done a complete, just all of a sudden change in our conversation. So metaphor is this usage of a word, a noun, an inanimate object of some kind, like twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Or it's all about that base, to use one that maybe you are all more familiar with, where base is a metaphor for a woman's behind, right? Which is why Mr. Mayo doesn't allow you to play it in school or for dances. Yes, you also know who you are, and you should feel. I'm going to have to move on. Otherwise, in front of the whole interweb, you'll be scolded by your teacher, and that's not a good place to be. So, metaphor is this substitution of a inanimate object for another object, and it's mostly used to drive in and emphasize a connection. So it's all about that base. So something about base in that particular example is being used to draw in this emphasis on a woman's behind. So very quickly we're going to leave this subject. And another example, another song that Mr. Mayo, a song that Mr. Mayo actually approves of and highly encourages you to listen to, Zombie by the Cranberries. In your head, zombie, 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 bay, bay. In that example, zombie is a metaphor being used to talk about the conflict going on in Ireland. In fact, most of the song Zombie by the Cranberries helps re-emphasize that point, that people are being turned into these zombies. They don't exactly know what they're doing or why they're fighting. That's a use of metaphor. And, metaphor is so prolific. It's used so often in modern language that I don't think you guys are going to struggle with this at all. So instead of me actually exploring what this fire could be and, why eventually it burns out past memory till rekindled anew, in the comments below. Yep, we're right back to that point, right from the beginning. So in the comments below, I would be more than happy. I would be excited, ecstatic, moved, even deeply moved to read your comments. What do you think fire in this metaphor, in this poem, is a metaphor for? And please take this a little more seriously. Yes, I know that this is a great moment for a burn victim joke, and I will laugh. I will probably laugh if you put one of those, but also try to put something that's also serious. The fire is a metaphor not for, I don't know, Mr. Mayo's, I don't know, crispy childhood. Ugh, no, let's try something else. If you're going to make one of the jokes, just, okay, go ahead, make it, move on. And then also tell us, what is this fire a metaphor for in a more serious manner? Alright, so that's what I have for you today. In the comments below, answer that question. I'd be more than happy to read it, and you're going to help. I don't know if I've mentioned this in any of the other videos yet, but by leaving those comments, you are creating a space, a learning environment, not just for you, but for every subsequent class that Mr. Mayo has. And when they use these videos, they're going to take a look at your comments and go, we have great forefathers. Look at the things that people have thought of. And then they'll have more examples upon which to draw out their own thinking. So, like I said, I'm not going to tell you what the fire is a metaphor for, or at least what I think it is a metaphor for. But I do want you, in the comments below, to tell me what you think it is a metaphor for. Alright, that's what I've got for you. Have a wonderful evening. Don't forget to do your homework, please. Please and thank you. Have a good night. Bye-bye.